What's up everyone, today I'm going to show you how we made just over $50,000 for a copywriting coach in 16 days from webinar bookings. First of all, I have to mention this wasn't a product of my work only, this is a product of a three-man partnership and I was in charge for most of the copywriting part and some other stuff, but I just want to say that before we start. As you can see, we had around 900 visitors on the registration page, and that got us, as I said, roughly over 50k in revenue. I'm going to go over the numbers in more in depth at the end, but yeah, let's start. First of all, while you're watching this, you're probably a coach or a consultant that makes minimum 10k a month, that films content and runs DM and VSL funnels plus sales calls after those funnels, but you have a problem that's building passive audience and you can't scale. You can get some results to an extent with those funnels, that's completely true. Those funnels are evergreen and they work to an extent, as I said, but you need something to scale. Now, I'm going to talk about our client. I'm blurred all of his face and name, but if you're in the copywriting space, you'll probably know who this is. As I said, so he was at 20k a month, just over 10k a month, as you said. He did run also content, DSM and VS funnels plus sales calls. He built a lot of passive audience. As you can see, he had 17k followers on Instagram and 40k on YouTube, which is a lot. It's really a lot. It's not usual to have that much audience. That's why the results were so crazy. And this was his first webinar and we did it fully organic, but he couldn't scale even though he had a large audience because, as I said, it was mainly passive, because he makes content that attracts buyers, but a lot of it attracts broke people, to say it in a nice way. Let's say it like that. So now let's get it into the actual webinar stuff. First, you need to understand that there are three pillars to this, and every decision maps to one of the three pillars that you're going to see. If it doesn't move one of these, it's noise and you need to get rid of it. So everything you do in your webinar needs to get connected to one of these three pillars and needs to build them even more. First one is to get registrants. After you get registrants, they need to show up, and you need to make sure they show up in, how they say it, you need to make sure they show up, that most of them show up as much as you can. As you can see here, we had an amazing show up rate of 60%, which is absolutely insane. That's because of our nurturing sequence, and as I said, because of his mainly organic and large audience that was waiting for this, because it was his first webinar. They were waiting for him to give them a reason to engage, and when he gave them a reason to engage, a webinar, all of them showed up. I mean, not all of them, 60% of people that signed up, but industry standard is around 30 to 40%, and this is like almost double. So that's the second pillar. And the third pillar, obviously the most important one, get sales. This is why you do the webinar, to make the most amount of money. Now we have 5 phases of a webinar. Let's start with the first one. I would argue this is one of the most important one, not the most important one, but it's definitely important, and it is the foundation, and that's the market research. You need to understand that the pitch feels inevitable only if you understand the buyers so well that you're using their words, not yours. If something makes sense to you and if something sounds good to you, it doesn't mean that it sounds good to your buyers. And you need to look at your offer, and you need to look at your content and look at everything you do as a coach through the eyes of your potential buyers. First step to that is making some documents. The first document is ICP description. This has to be autistic level detail. And when I say autistic level detail, I mean literally anything you can think of. You should open a Google Doc. You should download Whisperflow. That's this thing. I don't know if you can see it actually in the recording. You hold down the shortcut keyboard and it automatically transcribes your words onto the Google Doc into words, into written words. Then what you need to do is you need to fill out the Google Doc as much as possible. I'm talking pages and pages, literally anything you can think of about your ICP, from what they study in school, if they go to school, if they work a job, what do they work, do they live with their parents, age, names, if you want, anything, literally anything. And I'm talking demographics, psychographics, desired outcomes, pain points, and objections. These two are extremely important. Then brand voice. This is important for copywriting, and there's a lot of copywriting going on in this, but we're going to use AI for most of it, so don't worry. You need to map out your style of talking, common phrases, and your attitude, because you need to make sure that in all the copy that you write, or that somebody that does a webinar for you, that writes copy, it needs to sound like you, because they are buying from you, they watch your content, not mine. And if I'm writing for you, I need to sound like you. Then you'll have some documents like this, so brand voice, ICP, and offer, and we had proof and case studies that we're going to leverage across all our content and webinar and across all of our promo sequences and stuff like that. And how you're going to gather all this information. Basically, if you're a coach, you know a lot of these things already yourself, but the most leverageable, if I can say it like that, asset that you have is your sales call recordings. It's your ICP directly talking to you, telling you their objections. So look at literally every sales call recording that you have on Fathom or whatever you use to record them. Analyze them, analyze your comments, your DMs, your content, do competitor research. You can even run a survey if you want, so put it up on your story or something like that. Basically, gather as much as information as you possibly can. The more information you have, the better you'll do. This should take you like a day or two max, because you need to be fast with this. Then you need to adjust your offer. You can't pitch your default offer to your webinar audience, because they are here and they are warm, and you need to make sure you use that in your advantage. And if your audience is hot, a lot of them will buy your core offer. But imagine if you make your core offer even better with some bonuses and with some scarcity and urgency. They will feel obligated to buy, and they are already hot. And how do you adjust your offer? As I said, you stack bonuses. You stack bonuses, and the bonuses need to be better than your core offer. As Hormozi says, like, the value equation, stuff like that. Increase desired outcome, decrease pain points, blah blah blah. The easiest way to do this, oh my god, I can't talk. The easiest way to do this is by offering an AI tool. We did AI outreach tool because everybody loves AI these days, and bonus one-on-one calls with, I didn't blur his name here, it doesn't matter, you know who it is probably. And he gave out an lead scraper. Basically, he teaches people copywriting, and if you want to sign copywriting clients, you need to outreach to people. And the way his clients outreach mostly is through Instagram. And he made this lead scraper. He made it probably with Claude, I don't know. It's so easy to make things with that, it's insane. You basically scan hashtags, posts, competitors, something like that, and it gives you out a list of potential clients that you can reach out to. And he gave it only to the people that bought the webinar offer. So those are the two main tools. There were some else like PDFs and some of his old recordings and stuff like that, and his old modules. But these two were like these two really did him good, I would say, because people were really they really wanted this, especially the AI outreach tool. This was like a banger, a gold. He struck gold with it. Then phase 2, registration. Basically, you build out a registration page. You can clearly see this was built with AI. You can do this in literally 2 hours if you've never done it before. If you've done it before, we do this literally in half an hour. So you need to have the header, subheading, timer, which is now 0 because it's over. Then the registration thing. One pro tip is you can sync your API keys. Just ask Claude how to do it if you don't know. And when people tap here, they want to sign up, it automatically fills their info with their Instagram info. So that's just to reduce friction, and that's what you want to do. Then what they'll walk away with after the webinar, so what they learn, meet the host. Now this is a really important part. You need to have a freebie. You need to give them something to make them join the WhatsApp group. We're going to go to that just now, but basically they register and they get it's like the golden DM script pack for outreach that they can pair with the with the AI outreach tool. So yeah, just make something available for them, something that's easy to do. Like this is literally a PDF, like I don't know, of his AI message template, something like that. I don't know, but people wanted it, and you need to give them something that they want, so they will join the WhatsApp group, and they will get it once they join the WhatsApp group. Then testimonials. These are actual YouTube videos from his testimonial YouTube channel that people can go and watch. Then this training is 100% free, blah blah blah. It will not be recorded. And save the free spot CTA once again. Oh my god, sorry for my voice. I was sick the last few days. Also, I didn't mention it here. The registration page. We mainly got people there through ManyChat automations and story sequences and like reels that have CTAs for ManyChat automations, because people don't want to, when you put up a story sequence promoting webinars and you put up a direct link to a registration page, people need to click on the link, they need to get out of Instagram, they need to get out of the scroll mode, I would say. They need to register, they need to come back to Instagram, and then they can continue to scroll. And people don't want to do that. You need to reduce friction, as I said before. And when they're going through the story sequences, they see your story, you say just reply webinar or something to this story. They click the reply button on the bottom of the screen on the story sequence. They type in the keyword and they continue scrolling, and they come back to it when they are out of the scroll mode, when they finish scrolling, and then they can register. That's just a little tip. Then the confirmation page. So it's really important. This is not the end. You need to confirm them and you need to get them into the WhatsApp group, as I said like 100 times already. This is where you get them into a WhatsApp group. It's like here you have a 2-minute VSL that actually tells them to join the WhatsApp group. It's not selling them anything. It's a unfiltered video that feels raw and authentic. You can see him like he's just sitting at his desk, just like me right now talking to them. Then the link, add to calendar, and yeah, that's basically it for the registration page. It's really simple. Then the promo. We ran an 8-day promo. That's the best in my opinion. Aim for between 7 to 10 days. Less than 7 days, you could still pull it off, but that could be like too short. And more than 10 days, it's just too long. People will cool off. They don't care about you anymore. If somebody signs up and the webinar is in 3 weeks, nobody cares. Then, as I said, this was a completely organic launch, organic webinar, because it was his first webinar and he had already a lot of audience waiting for him. So we record the reels, story sequences. He had one YouTube video where at the end there was a CTA to the webinar, and he changed all of his links in bio to the registration page. Then email and SMS sequences. I'm not going to go through all of this. I showed this in my last video. You can pause it and look at it. Basically, it's emails every day, SMS at the beginning and before the webinar actually started, and after the webinar you also get sequences. And here you can see what is the content of the sequences. It's really easy. If you have these documents ready, you can literally do all of this in a few hours with Claude. So you can see here some mails, and then we are live. And as I said, WhatsApp community. So that's one you need to make sure it's not a WhatsApp group, it's a WhatsApp community, so people can send messages and can spam and send shit. Basically there he sent daily voice notes that we told him to. It was again unfiltered, just picking up his phone. It seemed authentical. Unscripted videos, surveys and reminders, basically just gaining info on his audience, what we can improve on the webinar. Then the actual live event. Here's the script. So hook, pain, tease the outcome, dream, position, paradigm shift, training. We had 3 mechanisms, and that's what you'll see most often. Commitment, transition, where you build a gap between where they are right now and where they want to be. Then core offer, that solves that gap. Bonuses that are better than the offer. Guarantee, that makes it a no-brainer for them to buy. Real scarcity, real urgency, not fake ones, not fake timers, because people can see through that. And Q&A, where you handle the objections, once again, live on the webinar. Also, you can have on Webinar Jam, you can schedule some questions that you want like to be sent to you automatically in that part of the webinar. So if there's an objection that you want to handle, that you know a lot of people have, make the automated messages come up, let's say in the 77th minute of the webinar, when your Q&A is on. Then you read it, you answer it, and you handle the objections. And obviously you handle the objections from real people that ask you questions. And you only keep the chat open for Q&A and for commitment moments. And what are commitment moments? If I said correctly, I'm not sure. That's when you ask people, type yes in the chat if you are ready, and you get them to type yes. It might seem stupid, but when people commit to that, it makes something in their brain. I don't know how to explain it. You could go watch a psychological video on that. I don't know, I don't care, I just know it works, and that's why we use it. Or you tell them to type 1 in the chat if they understood it. It just makes them commit a little bit more, and it works. Then the slide decks, the most important part and the only part that you need to remember about this is 1 point per slide. No more, like literally 1 point. It could be 1 sentence, 2 sentences, that's it. Make it obviously like simple design, or again, you can do this with Claude Design these days. Then the most important part, if you ask me, even more important than the market research, is follow-up. A lot of your money will come if you follow up correctly. You follow up like this. You separate your people that were on the webinar or that weren't on the webinar into 4 categories. First category, qualified people. People that got into the type form at the end. So when you pitch, this is a high ticket offer, and we have a type form that qualifies people. At the end, we put out the type form in the chat. People went and tried to qualify. If they qualified, you need to put them in the first group. That means they booked a call. Everybody that qualifies can book a call. Then you need, actually I'll do it like this. After they qualified, so when you put them in a qualified group, you do that in your CRM. Your setters need to call them and triage them. By the way, your setters need to be on point for the webinar, because they will work a lot and they will make a lot of money if they just give in a bit more. They need to triage them, because some people will lie, and that's the same thing here. What you'll see is that in the type form, you need to have a money question, basically a question that asks, do you have money to invest? Not direct like this, but you get the point. If they don't have the money, don't let them book the call. Some people will say they have the money, but they don't actually have the money, and vice versa. Some people will have they don't have the money, but they do have the money. And your setters need to call every single one that entered the type form, and they need to triage them, basically catch liars. So if there's somebody that qualified and shouldn't qualify, just remove them from the calendar. If somebody, and this is something that you'll see a lot, you'll find people that, as I said, lied. They said they don't have money, but they do have money. Then you just handle their objections, why they lied, blah blah blah, and you get them on the calendar. Then you have people that saw the pitch but didn't even try to apply to your type form. Basically something didn't click for them. You didn't handle an objection that they had, so your setters call them and they need to break those objections. And you have people that left the webinar before the pitch. You just offer them a replay. And you do the same for people that didn't even show up to webinar. I mean, you probably won't get a lot out of them, but just send them the replay. You never know. And in the follow-up emails, basically it's just few email sequences and SMS sequences, basically sending them a replay if your webinar has a replay, and it should have a replay probably, and plus proof. So that would be like Iman Gadzi does this a lot. John that joined our program after the webinar, he already made his first sale, or something like that. Basically spamming case studies, social proof, and testimonials. So that's the funnel. Now I'm going to break down the actual numbers and the results that we got. So this is the photo from the beginning. We got 934 visitors on the registration page. So on here, out of those 934 people, 74% were registered. So they said that they are going to come on the webinar. And out of those 693, I'm sorry, I just got lost there, I don't know what happened. Out of those almost 700 people, 60%, 61.3% showed up, and it was 425, and you can see 141 people attended the replay. One important thing that you need to know about the replay page: upload the webinar to Wistia or Vimeo, and you can there put controls so people can skip the video, so they can go immediately to the end. They need to watch through it all to see the pitch. A lot of people won't do that, but the ones that do, you'll have a better chance of getting them on a call than if they just skipped the whole webinar. Then we have 319 people stay to the pitch, which is 75%, which is amazing. Basically, how we export this data in Webinar Jam, you can put the timestamp to where you started your pitch, and you can export all the people that left before or left after and stuff like that. Then out of those 319 people, 20%, just over 20%, applied. That's 69. And out of those 69 people, 51 people booked, which is absolutely insane. I will say this again. This is because he has a large audience that follows him for a long time, and he hasn't done a webinar ever. So they were literally waiting for him on their knees to do something, to give them a reason to engage. Your first webinar will always be the best. You need to know that. But after your first one, you can then put in money into ad spend, and you can even do that on the first one if you want. You'll get better results. It's just how it is. But yeah, if you're running organic, that's one problem with organic, is you can't run them like every single week. You can run organic, I think the best is every 4 weeks, every 4 to 5 weeks, depending on your audience size. But if you run paid, then you can do them like however often you want, because you always get new people. It just depends how much money you are willing to spend on ads. So you can literally do them every week. Plus, as I said, why follow-ups are really important. We got 14 bookings from follow-ups, which is amazing. And then we booked 65 calls. It says 94% here, but that's because that's out of all of people that applied, not counting the follow-ups. You can here see some calls. These were like literally after the webinar, immediately when we pitched. And out of those 65 people, 40%, exactly 40% of those people closed. And this demonstrates the power of webinars. You've built so much trust with those people. And by the way, this is an organic webinar. People already trusted him to an extent. They knew who he was. And then he put out a 90-minute or 2 hours, I don't know how long it was long. He put a 2-hour presentation showing them something that actually helps them. He solved some of their problems. He showed them the outreach methods and stuff like that. Then he promised them some AI tools, one-on-one calls, so bonuses that are better than the core offer. Plus, it had scarcity and urgency because he said this is only available if you buy from the webinar. And that's how you get these numbers. That's how you get 40% close rate. These closers had the easiest job ever. People came after the webinar, they just said, tell me the price, because they knew everything. They knew the pitch, they knew who he was, they knew that they can learn something from him. They knew he was the solution to their problems. And this is the power of webinars. I don't want to go on about this. I can talk about this all day. Basically, average order value was just under 2K, and you can see the results here, $51,925. If you wonder why it's like spikes like this is just when all the money came into this account on this payment processor. So yeah, this is basically the whole funnel that made our copywriting coach $50,000 in 16 days. This is how powerful webinars are. If you want us to help you run your webinar, either done with you or done for you, even though we specialize in that for you, you can go to the link to the description. You can book a call with me personally, not some sales rep. We do this personally with you. We'll see if we can help you, how we can help you, and yeah, that's basically it. See you in the next video.